possible?
Not with you and I.
Possible.
Keithy, my boy, when they vaccinated.
Finish the rest of it.
When they vaccinated you, they used
Phonograph.
Yeah. What the hell is a phonograph?
My grandmother actually sorry, we got to count in. I'll shut up.
Good Friday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and thank you kindly for joining us on Real Talk with Keith Smith. And it's an absolute pleasure to connect with my inner circle friend, my good buddy, just a guy that you can count on in any aspect of your life, Keith Smith. He is sun-kissed, fresh from the, handful of weeks in the Caribbean? 2 weeks in the Caribbean. He is preparing to get on a bicycle to pedal the eastern seaboard. He is a partner at Yes Realty Partners, a founding partner, and he is an all-around A-plus guy. He's been in this game we call real estate since 1987. There's not a market.
Not 1887.
Not a trend. There's not a dynamic Keith Smith has not seen in real estate. Judah Wickower is behind the camera. He is not wearing a sweater today, which caught not only me off guard, but Keith Smith off guard.
He doesn't have a T-shirt on either.
There's no T-shirt underneath?
Yeah, I've got a T-shirt.
There's a T-shirt underneath? Let me see if there's a
And the
T-shirt.
sweater's behind me.
Oh, he's got the sweater.
So you don't let the old chest hair hang out? You don't go do that, huh?
Do we have the Judah camera on?
Yeah.
We want more Judah over there.
I
Keith Smith and I are wearing shorts, sandals, short sleeve shirts.
Yeah. The question is who has the sexiest legs? I'm just saying.
I'm going to go with...
Me.
Okay, Keith Smith. I mean, it's Real Talk with Keith Smith.
So now that we finished chest hair...
Comments, they love it.
Yeah, chest hair and no T-shirt, first T-shirt, but you can tell it's summer Keith because I'm not in a suit.
Summer Keith, oh man, I feel for you sometimes in those suits when it's 100 degrees.
Well, if I got meetings, certain meetings, I've learned that a long time ago. You dress for the occasion.
Okay.
So if I got a specific meeting, I'll go ahead and dress for it. So kick the show off with a little bit of new construction stuff. So if anybody wants to take a dive, I didn't get slides put together. We'll talk through it. But anybody wants to take a dive into my Facebook page or on any of the I Love Charlottesville Facebook pages or Real Talk or whatever, you'll kind of find it. What I wanted to kind of kick off is, I took a look at the volume of units sold between 24 and 25, right, year to date. So we'll just kind of take a quick dive into that. Albemarle County, in 24, there was 196 sold. We're now at 139, so that's a 29% drop. City of Charlottesville, it's kind of anemic numbers. 5 last year, 2 so far, that's 60. On the positive side, which we've been talking about for a long time, is Fluvanna and Greene. Fluvanna in 24 had 23 new construction sales. They're now at 52, but it gets better.
Do we have anything we can put on screen, Judah?
I didn't.
Okay.
Well, you can pull something off of my Facebook page if you want to.
That might be tough for him to do on the fly.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I should have made slides. I've got to take care of my tenants.
Yeah, his parents have moved into his house. Keep going. I'm getting you distracted.
Yeah. So, but on Fluvanna, if you calculate in the pendings right now, so these are only sold, the ones that are under contract that are going to be closing in the next 30 to 60 days, that number jumps to 72. So it went from 23 new construction units in the county of Fluvanna in 24. We're now at 72 if you include that. That's a 213% increase. It's even higher for our friends at Greene, right? In Greene County, last year there were 7 sales. We're now, if you calculate in the pendings, at 47 sales. That's a 571% increase. But Louisa's down 9%, Charlottesville's down 6% in volume. Albemarle County's down 29%. I don't have Nelson in here because it was so, there was 1 or 2
anemic.
sales. It was so anemic, it just didn't make a difference. So we've been talking about this for a while. What's the new construction rock stars? And again, if you take a look at my Facebook page, you'll have all this stats and data there, and I'll get better at getting slides.
Okay, so let me answer just a very straightforward open-end question. New construction, the only jurisdiction where new construction of merit is happening, there's 2 of them, Greene County
In Fluvanna.
and Fluvanna County.
Yeah. But Fluvanna is going to come to a stop in about 12 months.
Greene County, 2024, 7 units. This point through the year, right?
Yeah.
Year to date, 2024 versus year to date right now.
2024, there was 7 units sold. We're closed 34, but if you include the pendings, which is not on what's in front of you, I've got it on my notes here on it, that number jumps to 47. So we currently have 47 units that are either closed or under contract to close within the next 30 to 60 days. That's a 571%. And why this number 47 is so important in Greene County, for those of us that have been tracking the water discussions out there, us geeks,
Yep.
there was a particular, and I'll leave names out of it, but there was a particular board of supervisor in Greene County said that new construction would not be any more than 40 to 50 units. We were already at 47.
And we're halfway through the year.
Let's call it halfway. I can tell you it'll explode because that 47 units, and we can go a little, I've got a different stat on who the primary builder is for these jurisdictions, but staying on Greene County, right now it's Ryan Homes. That's because Stanley Martin hasn't started putting houses in the ground. So you're going to see that number double and pick up the pace because Ryan got in there first.
Of course.
And started getting units out of the ground, right? And then you're going to start seeing Stanley Martin and our local folks, Southern Development, that has some projects out there. So I project you'll see for the next 12 to 48 months, somewhere between the 2 to 250, if not more, units a year, new constructions a year coming into Greene County. Fluvanna will stop in 12 months. It'll go back to anemic numbers, onesies and twosies. And that's because the one project where new construction is going will be built out in about a year on that end of it. So the data's showing it. What we've been talking about for a while, it shouldn't be a big surprise to anybody, but Greene County is the rock star out there.
Fluvanna. All right, so Fluvanna and Greene County are the only areas where new construction of merit is happening. There is new construction happening elsewhere, but it is down 2024 versus 2025. Albemarle County, to put the new construction in perspective, it still has 139 units.
Sure did.
In 2025 that have closed, but compared to this time last year, it's down 29%. Let me tell you how meager the new construction is in the city of Charlottesville. 2 units close new construction in 2025 in Charlottesville City.
So I'm going to add a little caveat to
Please,
this,
please.
Right. That's what's in the MLS. All this data is that there may be some new construction, in single-digit numbers that may have never made it to the MLS.
Unlikely.
If it doubles, it's 4.
Unlikely.
If it doubles.
Why would it not make it to the MLS?
It could be an off-book, right? A custom. I bought a lot, and I'm having you build a custom home. It would not show up.
Okay.
These are transactions that have real estate professionals involved in it that made it to the MLS. So there is in every jurisdiction, particularly
Onesies and twosies.
Particularly in a new construction role where it never actually makes the MLS. So if it isn't listed or part of it, these numbers are basically based on the production builders, right? So you might have somebody like Bramante Homes, for instance, that is building custom stuff in Albemarle County, just won't show up in this number. So that's an important distinction and an important caveat to lay out there. The reason I don't calculate any of that is because it's not equal across the board on jurisdictions, right? You don't see a lot of that in some of the other counties. I just wanted to take a look at what traditional production in and out of MLS new construction is. And to your point, Charlottesville's extremely anemic. Albemarle County is down 29%. The split between detached and attached, because I've got that data too, there were 79 detached sold and 60 attached. So it's pretty close. In the median sales price in Albemarle County for new construction detached as of 2025 today is 936 versus 467. All right, so it's 467 for attached, 936 for detached. Again, these are, so in Albemarle County, the primary builder, believe it or not, is Greenwood. They are producing, they are closing more deals than anybody else. I can't tell you by percentage-wise. Charlottesville is Arcadia, so those are kind of customers. Stanley Martin's in Fluvanna. Ryan at the moment is in Green, but wait until Stanley Martin starts putting stuff in the ground, which is happening like now. And in Louisa, it's Liberty Homes. Those are the big production, lack of a better term, builders.
Let me ask you this question.
Sure.
Why, Keith Smith,
I knew that was going to happen.
are we at a standstill? How much does this have to do with macro headwinds, tariffs? How much is this macro headwinds, interest rates? How much of this is more local headwinds, labor, expensive, labor, lack thereof, macro headwind, cost of goods? How much of this is jurisdictional red tape? How much of this has to do with lawsuits and zoning?
So it's all the above, has a little piece of the pie, right? The reason I did this in the questions I was asked, if you start looking at some of the national data, right, you're seeing new construction kind of falter a little bit for many of the reasons that you outlined here. I would think if we were to take a look at all those reasons and would have to put some sort of scaling on them, like a 1 to 10 kind of thing. Part of the reason why, let's say, Albemarle County's down a little bit, Charlottesville we really should just take out of the conversation, right? Because it's really not a player in it at the moment. But let's say Albemarle County, for instance. There's just new projects coming out of the ground, right? There's nothing in the pipeline. So from my perspective, all those other items are important, but there's so much money coming into our area, so much cash coming into our area, so much ability to buy from the buyer's perspective. All those other listings like tariffs and all, it really doesn't matter because they've got the cash or they got the ability to buy and they want to come here. They just don't have it. They just don't have the product to buy. And so you're seeing a lot of people, in my opinion, they're selling out of D.C., which is a big influx for us, as you know. Then there's a northern. They're sitting on their cash and going leasing one of these luxury apartments until something comes along. So it's all these little things built up. But I think the real reason is the real reason why Greene County is beating the pants off of everybody right now, is percentage-wise, is it's where they are, they're coming out of the ground, and let's face it, it's the price point, right? So you're looking in Greene County, a detached unit at $441. So you got Greene County at $441, and you got Albemarle County at $936. I'm not that smart, but that seems pretty close to double on it. The attached units are $304 in Greene County versus $467. So let's just call that about another $150, $60 grand more. So that's where the buyer is migrating. I also took a look at something on this.
I got so many questions for you. Keep going. I don't want you to lose your train of thought.
Yeah, it's the coffee. Primary on the main level, right? 2005. 80% of the units sold in Greene County are the primary on the main level. So who typically wants a primary on the main level?
Boomers. I mean, frankly speaking, we're at the point now. I was talking about this with my wife. Primary on the main level is everybody. Is everybody.
So I counsel folks when they're going to buy, no matter what age level they are, if they can buy and afford a home that has a primary on the main level, regardless of your family age and all that stuff, that's where you want to go because that's your greatest resale opportunity later on. But I was rather shocked. Fluvanna County has only 30% of the sales, and it's all in one place, which is Colonial Circle, has the primary on the main level. And I was thinking, why? Why is that, right? You would think, everybody thinks Fulvana and Lake Monticello and all that stuff is kind of a retirement community. It's really not. It's really a workforce or where folks go. Most of the units they're selling over there are to families, two-story levels, 4 bedrooms, those kind of things. Albemarle is around 24% primary on the main level. But not only is Green...
Wait, what's the primary in the main level? Give those. This is a great stat here.
Yeah. Okay. I have a friend saying hi.
Primary in the main level.
So in Greene County, it's 80%. Louisa County, it's 80%. I'm rounding it up, 79, but I'm rounding it up. Louisa is 80%. Fulvana is 30%. Albemarle County is 25%, and Charlottesville is 0, which is, that's really not a statistical thing. So you're seeing in Greene County, so not only is they've got the right product type, they hit the builders and the developers, they hit their buyer profile, right? They're closer to Northern Virginia, right?
Comments coming in quickly.
Your price points in Greene County for detached is $451, right? I'm selling a house in, let's call it Alexandria, for double to 3 times or more than that. I'm buying a house for $441. I've got my primary on the main level. I got a 2-car garage, yada, yada, yada. I can be close to Charlottesville. I can drive back up to D.C. That's why their numbers are rocking and will continue to rock out in Greene County.
Neil Williamson watching the program.
Hey, Neil.
For what it's worth, Greene County endorsed the water supply
Yeah.
plan 4-1 on Tuesday night.
Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Thank you, Neil. So that's a huge step forward. I will, and I'm sure if Neil was sitting here, he would say the same thing. A little word of caution on that. They now need to go through the bond process, right? They actually have to get the funding for that. And, there's elections coming up, right? So they've approved the plan, so the plan is there. Now they've got to fund it. Now they have to approve the bonds to go ahead and do that. And sometime between now and November, it may impact the election cycle because, and Neil will correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a couple of contested seats in Greene County. So this isn't quite done yet, right? We've approved the plan. It's a scaled down plan. Right, it's not the Cadillac or the Mercedes S series, right? But it's a an F-150 pickup truck.
F-150 is nice though.
It's a nice truck. So
very nice.
So they'll have the water, they'll have the treatment facilities. I will add one thing about that: it doesn't take care of Standardsville, right? So that wasn't on the table on the other night. I think it was Wednesday night at the board meeting.
A couple of macro.
But it's not just. I just want to get this out. Yes, they approved the plan, but now they get the money for it, and the board has to make this decision. And if that decision isn't made until 2026, you could have new board members sitting there, and this thing could all go sideways or go in a completely different direction.
A couple of macro headlines for the viewers and listeners. We'll highlight Rob Neal watching the program, Lloyd Snook. We'll highlight Holly Foster, Dr. John Shabe, Roger Voisinay giving the show some props, Juan Sarmiento, Kevin Yancey watching in Illinois, Logan Wells Calelo, welcome to the broadcast. Realtors jump in with questions. Brokers jump in with questions. Home builder sentiment. Now, this is a national headline.
Yeah.
Home builder sentiment is at a pandemic low.
Yeah, 100%.
It's at a COVID low.
Yeah.
As economic uncertainty plagues consumers. This is a national headline. The National Association of Home Builders, they have a home builder sentiment KPI. In June, it dropped 2 points. Ladies and gentlemen, this index has only seen a lower reading than this June level twice since 2012.
So that's why I was saying it was important for us to look at the local markets. If you start taking a look at that, more macro stuff.
Strictly a national headline.
No, but here's where it impacts us, though. Do you know how that macro?
Oh, I know how it impacts us.
Right. Take a look at the top builders per county. You got Greenwood. Well, that may not impact Greenwood. Greenwood's a local developer builder.
It's certainly going to impact Ryan and Stanley Martin.
That's exactly right, because they're both publicly traded corporations, right? So, those macro things could filter down. So you could start seeing Stanley and Ryan. I don't think they will. I think, the development committees and the boards that look at this at the public corporation level are smart enough to know the difference between macro and micro areas. They also use their own cash, by the way, both of them, right? So you'll start seeing when you have these huge macro looks at some of these companies that have a little bit deeper pockets start retracting. And you're going to start seeing that a little bit. And you might see just the opposite, where the local and more regional builders might pick up the pace a little bit, assuming they can get money, which is a big assumption.
Viewers and listeners, let us know your thoughts. Put them in the feed. Ray Cadell, hello. Scott Thorpe, hello. Michael Plecker, Colleen Tyler, agents watching the program. Let me ask you this. If you're an agent or a realtor, Neil, I'm going to get to your comment in a matter of moments. If you're a realtor or an agent and you specialize in helping folks with new construction, where would you plant your flag right now?
Well, I'm going to back up for a little bit. This market is so small, you shouldn't be specializing in anything.
Some do that, though.
They do that. And the ones that do are so good and so well established that they'll do well. But if you're not one of those agents,
you don't want to find this niche.
I learned this a long time ago. Diversity matters, right? And diversity in business really matters. And if you kind of, like, everybody knows my story, right? We focused on real estate and development and all this great stuff. And when that bubble popped, you lose everything. So it's really, if you're a young agent or an agent that isn't one of these agents that excel at new construction at it, and there's a pretty short list that do it.
Rattle off some of them that do it.
Greg Slater would be the top. I mean, he's at the pinnacle, and then it works its way down. Diversity in client or buyer profile, diversity in location, diversity in product type. I will share this, and I'll probably get myself into trouble. Yes.
Judah loves when you say that.
Yes. Yeah. And so does Yonna, by the way. But she's in Europe and not watching it.
She's in Austria.
It's 6 hours ahead, so I'm good. All she said was don't buy a new bike and don't buy a new boat. So that's all she said. So she didn't say anything about a used boat or a used bike, but that's nitpicking. Look, I lost my train of thought. Where was I at?
New construction.
Got it. But I lost it. I got to bring it back. You're going to have to give me a second here. Go ahead and chat for a second.
You were mentioning the pinnacle, Greg Slater. You were talking diversity.
Got it. So, thank you. Came back. The only line of business that I would encourage either new or agents, because look, from an agent's perspective, this isn't what it was in the unicorn years, right?
COVID, pandemic.
And frankly, I love it. You got to be a real pro.
A lot of people call this a soft market. I call it a soft market.
You may call it a soft market, but I love it.
Okay.
We're doing great, because you got to have a certain skill level.
I don't even call it a balanced market. I don't think it's a balanced market. I think it's just a soft market.
Yeah, we'll pick that apart here for a second, and we want to get to Neil's comment.
Yep, Neil's comments are coming in. Others are coming in.
But I was going to say, if you're an agent and you're looking to diversify, and if you've not done any commercial, that's the one area I'd stay away from. Commercial is a very unique animal, and you have to have enough experience in that world to go ahead and navigate it. But other than that, if you're a young agent, you should start, or an agent that is trying to increase their volume. Now it's time to diversify.
Commercial's the world I live in.
Yeah.
The creativity you need in the commercial world is...
Well, it's interesting because the way with this commission change, it's really kind of pushed it just the way commercial works to a certain degree.
I will say also the challenge for anyone that is in the commercial world, the turnaround on commissions is the runway is significant.
I usually
it's
add
such
that.
a long time. Now the paydays are more significant than residential.
Oh yeah, sure.
The paydays are
Most
substantial.
agents don't know if you do a commercial lease, it's the same as a sale, right?
It's substantial, but the runway. I mean, you're talking about you might be working on. I worked on a deal for 13 months.
Yeah, well, you're a kid. I've did it for years.
13 months.
Years.
I mean,
years. I just closed on one in Standardsville for a development that took me 4 years to get there, right? So commercial, and that's the other thing. If you got to be, and the commercial buyer and seller, they're extremely savvy, right? And if you don't show up and you don't know your trash, they will eat you up and spit you out. So
Neil Williamson, the Board of Supervisors in green is seeking to have the package completed prior to the election.
Yeah,
in addition, they could not apply for grants without an approved plan, Keith.
Oh, I know that. I get all that, right? The steps is the plan, and I understand what Neil is saying, and I know the current chair is trying to do that, but there's political realities that might drag out, and there's also process realities because, and I've been pretty knee deep in this. Is the plan ready? Is the bond documents ready? All that stuff takes time to put together, and then they have to vote on it. But to Neil's point, the sooner the better, because once this decision is made and the bonds are put, at that point there's zero going back. No future board can start reversing that.
I'll throw this to you.
And Neil will correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct us, Neil.
But I do, well,
A soft market, I call this a soft market. It is not a balanced market. The sellers still have the edge here because inventory is so throttled. We have such a throttle of inventory. I understand concessions are coming back. I understand home inspections are coming back.
they've been back for a while.
I understand concessions are in the game here, but the inventory is so minuscule right now.
Just literally had this, it's soft, all this stuff is all great stuff, right? They're all words that have different meanings to different people.
The days on market are long. The price reductions, corrections are significant.
It's that, so you just hit the thing. To this market, as it should be.
There's one pocket in Central Virginia that's performing at an aggressive clip. One.
Well, I think if you break it down, there's more than one.
Well,
there's
I mean,
there's different.
Show me one besides Lewis Mountain to the 240, 250 split on Ivy Road.
Let me get this out, please. So, location is always first, right? But price matters now, right? And the biggest struggle that you're having right now is the sellers. That's why these price reductions are seeing it, are thinking the home's worth more than what it is. You hear this all the time. Well, my neighbor sold her house a year ago, or whatever it was, 6 months ago, for $50,000. Well, that's not today's world. If you, and we did this last week on the show, if you price your house right, and it has the right features and condition, and it's in the right location, it will sell in days. 5 days, 6 days, those kind of things. If it's not, today's buyer, I don't care if it's in the perfect location, the features are right, the conditions right, but if it's overpriced, they won't even look at it. They'll just bypass it because the buyer knows this market better than the seller. And that's kind of where we're at. We're at this point where some of the sellers, and that's why you're seeing the price reductions, some of the sellers are have unrealistic expectations. I like that of value. I have no idea what that means, but that sure sounded good. Have unrealistic expectations, and that's why you're seeing it. So it feels like it's soft, but we did this on, and we could do it for different areas. We did this last Friday. What was it? Albemarle County was up 6-point-something% year over year. So homes are not losing value. You just have sellers still thinking it's a unicorn years, and it's not. It's the responsibility of the agent that's talking to the seller, though, to say, hey, blah. This is where the market is. And that's a decision that the seller needs to make and the agent needs to make. I can tell you we don't take overpriced listings. We'll price it the way the market needs to be. And if you do it, the statistics prove you'll actually sell it for more than the listing price. Not by a huge amount, but by a little bit.
Carol Thorpe, hello. Thank you for watching. Barbara Bosick, hello. Thank you for watching. Bob Shada, hello. Thank you for watching. Like and share the show, ladies and gentlemen. Jessica Lilly, Donna Price, Tom Powell, welcome to the broadcast. Viewers and listeners, let us know your thoughts. Jason Noble, hello.
But I do want to go back to a little bit, unless you've got a quick question there. Go back to, because I broke down square footage, new construction square footage by jurisdiction. And it's pretty interesting. Charlottesville, now again, it's only 2 sales, so it's a pretty
I mean, I think you discount 2 sales, frankly.
Yeah. So
I think the baseline, the data set is so minuscule you can't use it.
So I agree. We'll jump to Albemarle. Albemarle's 2,700 square feet. Louisa is 2,100 square feet. Green is 1,900 square feet. Fulvana is 1,900 square feet. So your Louisa, Green, and Fulvana, let's call it 2,000 because that's pretty damn close, right? 21, 19, and 19. So it's roughly 2,000 square feet. Albemarle is another 700 square feet more. So they're building bigger in Albemarle. They're selling for more, obviously, in Albemarle. But these other jurisdictions that, like particularly Green and Fulvana, that are turning up these huge year-over-year percentages, the builders and developers understood the market and provided the product, and guess what's happening? It's selling.
It's moving. It's absolutely moving. Let us know your thoughts, guys. Comments continue to come in. Keith, this is a good one for you. When does he call it a balanced market?
Yeah, so when did we did this months ago where I started saying this is becoming a buyer's market, and people got upset with me, frankly, for it. But we are in a buyer's market. We are in a market that generations haven't seen, right? I haven't seen it, and it's so micro done. Usually when you do these, it used to be you had these swings, right? You could see it, right? It went from sellers to buyer, and the region kind of went that way, and it was days on market, and it was all these kind of different locations, and days on market in particular. And then it switched over to buyers. What you have now is literally street to street, house to house, neighborhood to neighborhood, county to county, city to county. It is that minute and that micro that you have to look at each individual thing. I know that's I should be an elected official.
That's an accurate answer.
It's a non-answer.
That's
right?
an accurate answer.
But if we were having this conversation in 2018, 2017, or some other year prior to that, we could look at the data. We could say, okay, we're at 60 days on market. We are now officially in a buyer's market, or vice versa, right? It's not like that. It is literally house to house, property to property, subdivision to subdivision. You can see some Ivy subdivisions. For the most part, that's pretty much going to move very quickly no matter what they have. That's kind of still the unicorn, right? Years thing. But some other jurisdictions, you take a look at Lake Monticello. Why do houses sell in 5 days and others take months?
The DOM at the lake is getting...
But some homes, if they're priced right features, right conditions, will sell in days. The ones that are not, they sit. And why do they sit? People don't want to, it's in the right location. People don't want to pay the money. And oh, by the way, it probably doesn't have the right features. And oh, by the way, I got to put a new roof on it. I got to put a new HVAC system on it. And it'll sit. That's where we're at. And 6 months from now, we might be someplace else. And that's why we do what we do so much, and that's why we take a dive into this data so much, and that's why we have these conversations. But
how about this question?
I don't think you can define today's... Who said it? Dr. Lisa Sturtevant. Weird is the word.
How about this question for Keith? The Fed is expected to have 2 rate cuts at the end of the year. How does that impact our local market?
And I think I'm going to win the lottery next week.
You're saying predictions like that, who cares?
It's not who cares. It's just we've been talking about the Fed having a reduction rate
for a while.
For a long time, right? It's going to happen when it's going to happen, right? I personally think they should, but that's just my opinion. I think the question is when they do, what's going to happen to housing? And I'll tell you, even though we all know there isn't a direct link between the Fed and the 30-year, there is this indirect link, right? And if the Feds drop it, then I see mortgage rates start going down. And when you start getting into this sub-6 or close to 6 range, you'll see stuff going up. That makes a huge difference in this market, by the way. Construction, that's why you see these huge builders offering discounts and credits and stuff like that to offset either interest rates or features or something along those lines. But, if the feds do it,
All right, how about this one?
what is it? Katie bar the door? Is that how that goes?
How much of this market, and we seem to be at a standstill right now in a lot with real estate. How much of that has to do with the heat, summer, and travel? And does the standstill get back to momentum once school starts?
I think the summer market started way the spring,
Way earlier than expected. Spring market started in January.
100%. So that's
Summer market started in the summers. The
So that-
slow time started kind of late April.
So that track is just following through, right? So I suspect you'll see the fall market start sooner than that, particularly if they do an interest cut rate in July, which I do not think they're going to do.
No, it's not going to be the odds of this are sub
there are some
20%,
people-
sub 20% in July.
Yeah, some
but
people-
the odds at the end of the year are much higher.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But a lot of that's political, and we got to let that play itself out. Got people calling me my hearing aids.
Do you think, Bill McChesney, hello, viewers and listeners, I'll get to your comments, appraisers watching the broadcast right now. Do we think the market picks back up in the fall?
Yeah, the answer to that is yes. But, or and, right? I'm not supposed to use but, and. If you're not in the right location, you're not priced right, you don't have the right features, you don't have the right condition, it ain't gonna matter. Right now, there are buyers out there, if you're in the right location, right price, right features, right condition, that will sell. It's that simple. So, there you go.
What are you telling your agents?
I tell you, all our agents are very busy, right? I will tell you from a practitioner perspective, boy, that was impressive.
Practitioner. Very nice.
Not a proctologist, a practitioner.
What is a proctologist?
You don't know what a proctologist is?
What's a proctologist? Judah, you know what a proctologist is?
How old are you?
I am old enough not to know what a proctologist is. Judah knows what a proctologist is.
I thought you were seeing one next week or something.
Is that a proctologist?
Well, if you're just having your normal PSA exam,
Yeah.
it's your normal doctor.
Yeah.
That is not a proctologist. A proctologist is somebody who specializes in the rear end of people. Let's call it. How does that sound? Did I do that? Did I do that delicately?
You're talking the colon doctor, the rectal doctor.
The butt doctor. Let's just keep it at.
So from a practitioner's perspective.
Yeah. So from a practitioner's perspective, and I would love the real estate agents that are watching to do the feedback. There's two big things that is kind of going around. Every transaction right now
Is hairy.
is a bit goofy. I can't go into the specifics, but in a big picture, even cash deals are going goofy. Just closed one yesterday, found out 4 days earlier that I'm representing the buyer, that the seller had 12 judgments attached to the property. This is 4 days before closing.
Why did it take so long to figure that out?
That's a great question.
Why not earlier in title?
That is a question that I intend to ask once everything is recorded and done. I just want this. I want my buyers to get a home, and they ended up clearing everything, but it turned into 4 days of intense work with 2 attorneys, right? A bunch of creditors, excuse me. So we could close yesterday and get clear title, right? But even a cash transaction is getting a little goofy. Loan transactions, they always have these multiple layers, and they got to go. So the level of skill that is needed to navigate 12, I'm not patting myself on the back. I just knew the right people to bring at the table on it to clear 12, because if we didn't, we weren't closing. Thank God we weren't doing a loan, because if we were doing a loan, that deal would have ended and went on, but we were able to get it across the table. It turned out to be a Lake Monticello transaction with a 4 in front of it, by the way. So this wasn't a inexpensive piece of property for Lake Monticello standards. But anyway, we got it closed. That's it. And the second one, I think I'm going to keep to myself.
Neil Williamson gives us the definition of proctologist in the comment section. Thank you, Neil. Appreciate you. Literally, the definition to the T from Neil Williamson.
Yeah, you can read it, or yeah, I don't know. Are we going to potty jokes or toilet
No,
jokes?
we're not going there.
No.
Do you have anything you want to comment on the feed? The politics question is coming in the mix with Albemarle County and how this election cycle is going the way of the Democrats, in particular, a movement to continue to raise the real estate tax rate. Do you want to touch on that?
Well,
that's in the feed.
Yeah. So if anybody thought Albemarle County wasn't going to stay Democratic,
well, Dave Shreve is a Democrat, but he was running on no increased tax platform. And his opponent, Sally Duncan, is a Democrat, and she ran on a platform that I'm going to increase your taxes.
Yeah, and so, taxes get increased. It's the triangle, right? We talk about it all the time. It's what the budget's going to be. It's going to be what the tax assessed value is, right? And then they go to tax rate, and that'll determine if your taxes go up or down. I will tell you, I fought mine in Fulvana County, and my actual cash out of pocket is actually going to stay flat, which is great. Great news. Some people didn't, and it's substantially going up on it. But yeah, look, it's, two things that are sure, right? What's the two things that you're going to for sure happen? Death and taxes. I've never seen taxes go down. Maybe there's cases that I just don't know, but it's kind of a given taxes go up. I'm a pro-housing guy, right? And you and I look at this topic a little differently, but, the only way that they could possibly increase or decrease their tax rate, I can speak to my home county, is to increase their commercial and their industrial. And that's just, they may get it from 5 or 7% to 10, but it ain't going to make a difference. And taxes are just going to go up. Expenses are going to go up. Taxes are going to go up. It's just a reality. So did I not answer that question?
You answered it. You danced around it. You answered it. Jason Howard on Rio Road.
And I don't even have my dancing shoes on.
Jason Howard on Rio Road. This
Look
is
at
hilarious.
that.
Looking at my new real estate tax bill feels a lot like going to the proctologist, a proctologist that is out of network. Jason Howard. That was very good.
So I think the real problem with the tax rates going up in our 6 jurisdictions,
They didn't go up in all 6.
let's try it this way.
They stayed the same in Charlottesville City.
Values,
Assessments went up.
assessments going up, how they managed to keep tax rate down, or the actual taxes you pay year over year down. And I would argue if you kept the rate the same and your assessment gone up, you're paying more taxes, right? Your rate may be the same, but you're paying more taxes.
Well, that's what Yonna Smith is watching the program in Austria.
Oh, look at that.
She gave you some props here.
I didn't buy a bike.
What irritates me is I understand the assessments going up. The jurisdiction has no control with assessments going up. That's tied to market. Okay?
Well, it's a state.
Yeah.
It's a state.
No problem with the assessments going up. My problem is when elected officials choose to raise the real estate tax rate.
Yeah.
So they're charging us even more when assessments went up.
So there was this.
That's my problem.
Again, assessment and rate are just functions of this one thing called budget,
Sure.
right? So the real question is, okay, I don't really care if you want to raise the tax rate or not, or adjust the tax rate. Are you going to lower the budget, or are you going to raise the budget?
You could keep the budget flat.
Yeah,
You could cut things out of the budget.
And there was a really great.
If the push is for police, fire and rescue, and affordable housing,
You gotta-
find another cut. Find a cut
No
so the
argument.
budget stays the same.
You and I run businesses, right? You
Fuck.
know, that's how that world works. But Ned said, If you really want to know how somebody's going to vote,
Yeah, budget time.
watch their budgets and watch how those budgets and it's important to them.
Well, then it's a terrible look when the school board says we're going to give all school board members 100% plus raise.
I'm going to give a shout out to my oldest daughter, Yaz.
Jesse Rutherford, we need to get you on the program, buddy.
We're
Stephanie Wells Rhodes, hello. Michael Plecker, hello.
We now have everybody set, all the seats kind of set for November. And believe it or not, and is Jesse responding?
Jesse's watching.
Yeah. Nelson County's interesting. It has a bunch. They run as independents in Nelson County.
Nelson County, a very red county.
It is a red county, but there's many seats that have multiple contenders for it. So that's going to be an interesting county to watch. Even though we don't have any of the new construction stats in there, I can tell you people are sniffing around Nelson County that are in the development building space.
Jesse's a builder.
100%. In the Nelson counties, and we've talked about this before, keep an eye on Livingston South. Livingston South, if you go from the town of Livingston going out, guess what they got running along 29? Water. And that's where you start looking, right? Where's my infrastructure? Where's my stuff? And then you start working your math backwards on what the jurisdiction will let you do and won't let you do, and all that stuff. But look, it's. I said this a long time ago. I'm about as excited about real estate as I've been in decades. I love real estate right now. There is just so much that you've got to have a certain level of professionalism and skill to do this job, and it is exciting. It is exciting to help people buy and sell, and as I said before, help them with one of the three things that's required for a trip around the sun, which is shelter. The other two is clothing and food, which is I take seriously. And to help folks, that's pretty cool.
Viewers and listeners, what are your thoughts? Put them in the feed. The sting of the taxes continues to be a topic in the chat box right now.
Yeah. So with all due respect to everybody, when wasn't it? Right?
Keith, the assessments weren't this high.
100%. But I'm talking about.
It's really the sting because of the assessments going up.
Yeah. Well, you should have contested it. If it wasn't market rate, you should have contested it. 2, we've talked about this all the time, get engaged on the budget process. And 3, the budget process will then determine the tax rate because they got to balance their budget, right? The rate is just a function of the math between the budget and the tax assessment. What does that rate need to be? But I'll tell you, I know in my home county, very few people showed up to care about the budget conversations.
This question's come in. Why does Keith say new construction stopping in Fluvanna?
Oh, that's easy. There's only one subdivision, and they only have about 150 more lots left, and they're selling them at a clip that by the end of this year it'll be done. Then it'll be done. It'll be onesies and twosies. But there are no new subdivisions of substantial size, right? And our friends in Fluvanna County changed their by right. They removed the cluster development requirement. So unless you're rezoning, the maximum you can divide any parcel in Fluvanna County is 5, right? So, and I think you can't. I think that locks you in for 5 years, and you can't redivide anything else for another 5 years down the road. So you won't. Colonial Circle will sell out, which is on a pace that I haven't. They are turning homes, and I've been in Fluvanna County since 1987, built like 600 homes there. I've never seen the pace of sales as you're seeing at Colonial Circle. Never. These are units that are turning left and right. Every time I drive in there, there's new foundations going in the ground. I believe the apartment complex is around 60% occupied. They expect that to be 100% occupied by the end of the year. There's some off-the-record commercial coming out that way, which is great. Because when you start having that kind of rooftops, the commercial folks start
So guys, once this Fluvanna project is done, your
It's
new
done.
development is going to happen in Greene
That's
County
it. It's Greene County is,
and some Albemarle north of town.
and the Albemarle, yeah, north of town, you've got projects out there that are getting filled.
Now, you
filled
got
up.
a boatload of multifamily coming to city of Charlottesville. But these are apartments. These aren't units for sale. This is a boatload of multifamily.
And what's the rents?
I mean, astronomical.
Yeah,
I mean, well over 2,000 a
Yeah,
unit.
so they're building luxury rentals.
Luxury, usually really geared for students.
And they're building, there's a huge inventory. We can get into multifamily.
A lot of the new construction national developers are doing, construct to lease instead of construct to own.
Yeah,
Build to lease.
yeah. You don't see that here, but
City of Charlottesville, you are.
yeah, but not in huge numbers though.
Old Ivy residents, that's all that is
Yeah, again,
on
it's
the bypass. That's 500 and some units.
yeah, but it's not thousands and thousands and thousands of units, which depending on who you talk to, we're short. Where we're short, what you're seeing here, and I got it because I've got clients that are waiting for the right new construction to happen because they don't want to buy existing and have to make the improvements, that sold their house out of the Northeast, right? And I'm including DC as the Northeast, that are just renting these luxury, $3,000 a month, got a pool, jacuzzi, sauna in it. They take care of your laundry for you. They love it, and they'll just park their cash, and when the right 900,000 or 800,000,
They'll jump on it.
they'll jump on it, and other than that, they'll just renew their lease and keep on staying there.
Neil Williamson, the project Keefe that is coming out of the ground just north of Greene County is build for lease.
So it's the apartment as I'm going north. I believe it's on the left, right?
Just north of Greene County line is built for lease.
Yeah.
And he wants to ask this question to the panel. Are the assessments wrong?
Well, I can't speak for the other jurisdictions. I can speak for Fluvanna County because I did the math. About 2/3 of them were pretty damn close.
Yeah,
Right.
if anything, I would say,
But there
it
was,
pains me to say this, the assessments are low.
they were,
assessments are low.
I actually did the work for Fluvanna County. And
And he says not the apartments, it's the townhomes on the left Keefe,
Got it,
that are
got
built
it.
for lease.
got it. Thank you, Neil. I would just focus on new construction sales, but thank you. So that's not even calculating into the units that are coming into Greene County, and I think that's what he's trying to say. So there's even more than the numbers that we're looking at here, that we're talking about today. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. New construction is in a world now that I haven't seen since I've been here. The dollar amount are at the world, these numbers are huge. And I'll just kind of get this out there because we're kind of getting close to the end. Where is my mother and father going to go, right? Where is the 60 to 80% of the area median income or lower than that go? And that's a real struggle because most of these apartments, for the most part, are catering to the upper end level. There's just not enough to fill the backstop. And, oh, by the way, if you take a look at NAR stats, and we can talk about NAR another time, my opinion on that, but most people want a single-family detached home. When you talk to folks, most buyers want the classic white picket fence. I want a little yard. I want my own little house.
The American dream.
They want the American dream. Townhomes are great, apartments are great, but I've got clients right now. They're in town, brand new townhomes. We sold them a couple of years ago. They're blessed with a child. They want to have a second child, and we're selling that townhome, and we're trying to get a single-family detached setup. But they've saved a ton of money up in 2 years, so we'll be able to make it happen.
Michael Plecker, one of the Shenandoah Valley's finest backstops, a Yes Realty partner team member,
He is.
and an all-around good guy. We've dubbed him and monikered
That's a
him
great guy, actually.
the mayor of Fontana.
Mayor Fontana. He is Mayor Fontana.
Plecker says Fluvanna County has become the Manassas of Central Virginia. Just as Manassas in Northern Virginia was where buyers had to drive to qualify in Northern Virginia, Fluvanna County is now the Manassas of Central Virginia.
Well, while you are chatting,
What do you make of that take?
I would want him to define what that means. I'm not really sure what.
It means it's so far from the epicenter of employment.
Oh yeah. And that's not it. It's worse than that. It's Buckingham. It's depending on where we're at. We had, and I'm going to work on it, but we had we meaning the Regional Housing Partnership, had a presentation from Weldon Cooper on, I think it was Wednesday, on it that had all these great stats on where they're coming from. I just haven't had time to pull that data together, and actually invited the statistician to join us here.
How many units on the market in Lake Monticello
That's
right
what
now?
I'm working on right now, brother. That is what I am working
And
on
those
right now.
those units, they're putting it in the feed right now. The DOM is getting longer.
Yes and no. Yes and no. I think I should run for Senate.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Yes
7,
and no.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You are looking at 21,
You're
22,
talking about
23, 24.
we got 24 units at
26,
Lake Monticello.
27, 28, 29, actually more than that, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 37 for sale on Lake Monticello.
Well, I don't know what data you're looking at. My number's different.
I'm looking at, I'm looking at the
Fluvanna
front.
County, Lake Monticello, detached, active, right now. Hold on a second. I'll tell you in a second. It's 35. You're right.
Yeah.
35. But let's look at sold year to date, real quick.
Bill McChesney, if someone in your neighborhood sells a home for a stupid high price, it drives up the neighborhood assessments. If someone sells a home in your neighborhood for a crazy low price, the assessor says that is an anomaly and will not lower your tax assessment.
100%. He is absolutely not wrong.
That's just the way it works.
He's
And that's why I highlighted 303 Alderman Road. Once that $3 million piece of construction is sold, where the 6 brownstones were going to be created, that's really going to impact the Lewis Mountain residents. Now, they're not going to have the 6 brownstones to worry about.
And this whole conversation back in 2007, 8, and 9 was, oh my God, all these foreclosures are impacting my value.
Conan Owen, won't it be a good thing to create economic magnets outside of Charlottesville and Albemarle County, eases pressure on housing prices, reduces pollution from commuting, brings prosperity and tax revenue to neglected counties? Conan Owen, I appreciate your comment. The owner of the local Sir Speedy, you'll see him involved in the I Love CVille Network around mid-July. I'll throw this to Conan, though. The problem with the development, with the Fluvanna County becoming the Manassas of Central Virginia, is the commerce and the job opportunity in Fluvanna County still is not there. So the folks are having to commute to Charlottesville and Albemarle County for work.
So Fluvanna County, Lake Monticello, before I do that, because I got this data and back, I'll kind of jump into that a little bit. The takeaway from the presentation from Weldon Cooper echoed what I've been saying for a long time. There's this political, some jurisdictions struggle with the understanding what happens in Charlottesville impacts Fluvanna, what happens in Fluvanna impacts Nelson, what happens in Nelson impacts Greene, what happens in Greene impacts Charlottesville. This region is now interconnected, and it's for that very reason, right? And there's actual state, what the number one influx into UVA, because they were talking about the UVA. You know where the number one housing center is for the employees? Because I remember this stat for UVA is from the other side of the hill. There's more people coming from Waynesboro,
I believe
and
that.
Harrisonburg to work at UVA than there is in any other of the jurisdictions, and it's by substantial amount. But Lake Monticello closed year that the median sale was 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, 1,900 square feet, 18 days on market is your median, that's to me a relatively low number. and you were at a 370 median sales price. But if you go ahead and take a look at what I'm looking at, there's lots of 2s and 4s and 3 days and 6 days on market. I can't quickly do the analysis on it in the top of my head without another spreadsheet. If you're priced right, in your right location like Monticello, you get the right features and conditions, you will hit that 18 days and under. When stuff start going 2 weeks over at Lake Monticello, there's a problem. So what's the problem? It's not location, because it's Lake Monticello.
It's the price or the condition.
Or the features. And, sellers got, in today's market, sellers got to say, my roof needs to be new, my HVAC, I got to get a fresh coat of paint. You've got to do that work because the buyer's not doing it now. And if you do that work and you keep that stuff updated and you price it right, you will sell it quickly. So there you go.
Well done, Keith Smith.
There's the market.
There it is. That's in the snapshot right there.
Snapshot.
Keith Smith, my friend, you carry the show per usual.
What do you got this weekend?
Next Friday, guys, off for the 4th of July. Keith, you just mentioned me in a post. Did you know that? Did you just do a post?
I did a post this morning, sir. I always mention you every morning.
I just got a notification here.
Well, that's weird. I did that
Actually,
like at
that's I just got the notification. 4th of July, and then I'm doing some traveling. So Keith.
No, you got to say what I said about you. That's a different story.
Keith has got one show he's got to fill on the 11th.
Yeah. So anybody interested, raise their hand. If anybody wants to beat up on Keith, this is their opportunity.
I think you're going to do a hell of a job. You always do.
No. I'm looking for 3 seats to bust Keith's chops. There you go.
I think that will.
I think Chris Fairchild's a fair.
Problem filling those seats.
Yeah. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Real Talk with Keith Smith.
So what are you doing the weekend? You didn't tell me.
What's that?
You didn't tell me what you're doing this weekend.
I'm traveling.
That's right.
Family trip.
There you go.
The family, the Miller Explorer, is heading to the beach. We're very looking forward to that.
So 4th of July. I'll just get this out because we normally do a 4th of July show with Yonna, right? Obviously, we won't be able to do it this time.
Because it's Friday the 4th.
It's Friday the 4th. We will be, like we do every year, we will be at Monticello for the naturalization ceremony. And if you've never been to one, please do yourself a huge favor and go. If you ever question about being an American, you need to go there and do this. And it's not because of the naturalization process, it's because at the end, the judge asks politely, and then he orders them, if they don't do it, to tell their story. And everybody knows this going in that this is what's going to happen. And when you sit there and you listen to the folks' stories, and I get chills telling this, what it took for them to go from the beginning of this process to get that passport or get that citizenship in their hand, not a passport, but a citizen certificate in their hand, if it doesn't bring tears to your eye, there's something not right. So if you question this, all this political crap that's going on in the world right now, particularly country, go and watch that and listen to those stories, and it'll make an impact on you, I guarantee it.
Well said.
And I very rarely get political, but this is not political.
That's not political.
That's
American.
This is American.
That's American.
Go there and check it out. Plus
Keith
you get a free ice cream soda float, Coke and a little bit of ice cream.
Can't beat that.
Any opportunity for ice cream is a good thing.
Keith, Judah Wittkower, Real Talk with Keith Smith, archive wherever you get your podcasting content, online at realtalkwithkeithsmith.com. An absolute pleasure, guys, to connect with you and to connect with my friend Keith Smith. If you're looking to buy or sell a house, Yes Realty Partners, a name you can trust. I've seen it firsthand. Keith and Yonna in business since 1987. The I Love CVille show, guys, at 12:30. So long, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Have a good 4th. All right.